Okay, we are. We're live on Facebook and YouTube now.
Live on Facebook and YouTube. We've got Brian Clayton here of GreenPal. We're going to be talking about hotels, the hotel check-in experience on the Run With It podcast today. This is the behind the scenes recording of the podcast. If you want to hear the polished version, subscribe. Let us know what you think about it. That's super helpful to get more people to find the show if you both subscribe and review it. And we'll take any of your feedback seriously and try to incorporate it in future episodes. So we're getting a little bit of late start here. Let's jump into it. You guys ready?
Let's rock and roll.
Cool.
Rock and roll.
Welcome to Run With It, the show that brings you untapped business ideas from successful entrepreneurs. My name is Chris Justin, and I'm here with Ethan Janney. Ethan, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good, man. I'm trying to figure out how often is too often to check my financial pages. How often do I check my stocks, my crypto, my whatever? Is it good to check it often? It means I'm paying attention. Is it quarterly? Is it weekly? Is it daily? I don't know.
Well, the worst infringes are if you're doing a Zoom call and someone has glasses and you can see that they've got their financial ticker on the reflection of the glasses.
Right. So, yeah. Luckily,
you're not that bad.
It looks like our guest today, Brian Green, has his hands politely, at his sides here. So I think we could be pretty sure he's not typing out, his Fidelity investment portfolio or something.
This might be the moment where we hit peak bubble and it all went down.
And it all
because when it sucks, you never want to look at it.
Tell us about Brian
during this podcast recording. Brian Clayton, he's the CEO and co-founder of GreenPal. It's an online marketplace that connects homeowners with local lawn care professionals. I actually need a local lawn care professional. I shall look into that today. I just moved and I have a lawn now.
Awesome.
But he has a business idea in a completely different vertical here. We're talking about hotels and the check-in experience. Have you had any recent check-in experiences, Chris?
Recent. I had a terrible hotel experience in Puerto Rico. One of the few times that I actually reviewed a hotel, I was given 2 stars over the course of a week.
It's called Crypto Rico, by the way.
They did not come clean my room once, which is, separate from the hotel. The hotel check-in experience was horrible. All of it put together, left a super sour taste in my mouth. I do have some stats here. Everyone knows that hotel check-in is painful, is not fun. But I found out
by the way, I had a recent hotel check-in experience. It was totally fine. So I'll have to be the bad cop in this
the bad cop
today.
on the side of Big Hotel. Yeah, there's a Cornell University School of Hoteling. I don't know actually what it's called, but Cornell has this school, and they've done a study here that
hospitality, right? That's usually what they call it.
Actually, it had the word hotel in it, but I don't remember what it's called. We'll link to it in the show notes here. A 5-minute wait to check in lowers guest satisfaction in the US by 50%. So that is, huge. And it seems like super low hanging fruit. Brian's got this idea he's bringing to us here. Just reimagine the hotel check-in experience. They should know who you are when you get there and just hand you a key, make it super simple for you to go straight to your room.
So Brian, what's the deal? What happened to you? Tell us about your scars.
Yeah, so 10 years in the startup game, and one thing I've noticed about startups is they enable a commoner to have a Ritz-Carlton experience. And so you think about the early days of Uber, it was push a button, get a black car. And I remember back in 2013, how pimp it was to be able to just have a Lincoln Town car, just come pick you up and take you where you want to go for $15. That was awesome. That's why Uber is now, $60 billion company. It's tech startups can look for ways to make things so much more efficient and easier to give the everyday man the top level, $1 billion experience. And so that's kind of what my app GreenPal does. If you want a basic lawn mowing every 2 weeks, you get the same level of service that somebody that has a private gardener does. And so I have because I've spent 8 years trying to make this work for the lawn mowing industry, I have a very low tolerance when things are just unnecessarily complex and unnecessarily burdensome and unnecessarily inconvenient, regardless of how much money I'm spending. And so I've been doing a lot of traveling in the last 2 years. we've gotten GreenPal to a point of profitability. We're doing like $20 million a year in revenue. We're profitable. Got a really good team. After 5 years of like eating dog food and working 100-hour weeks, we finally have this thing going well and it's humming. So I'm traveling a ton. I'm traveling like 7-8 months out of the year all over the world because traveling is my passion. And one thing that I notice consistently about, doesn't matter where you go in the world, how nice the hotel or how like just basic the hotel, the check-in experience usually sucks. It's usually you show up and it's like, okay, it doesn't matter if you book this on booking.com, Expedia, Hotwire, hotels, or on the actual website for the hotel. It's like every single time you start from zero. It's like, okay, who are you? I need an ID. What's your phone number? I need your freaking home address. Write your email address on this piece of paper. Sign
Social
this.
security number, birth certificate.
Oh my God. It's just,
passport.
it's like so
I forgot my passport. Oh, you
unnecessarily.
can't stay here.
I've had that happen. I had that happen in Colombia.
If you do travel overseas, they do ask for a passport.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's like, it's so like the same way it was done in like the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. It has not improved at all. And so like if I was going to start over tomorrow and focus like all of my life into a product experience, that would be a place where there's
Let's
pain.
just reminisce about the positives of the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s in terms of travel experiences, that the pilots and the flight attendants were the hottest people that they used to
It
find.
was probably actually better back then. And so I you know, it doesn't matter where you go, it always sucks. And I'm always like, I have this cognitive overhead around, I'm schlepping my luggage into the lobby. Maybe a bellman might help me with it, but I always have to go through like this 10-minute ordeal of showing documentation, signing things, and filling out things. Doesn't matter how good the hotel is, except for one time in Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam. I splurged and I booked, I think, what might have been the best hotel in the city. And this was a 5-star hotel, and it was only like $250 a night. And but I get there, and before I could even get out of my Uber, I get there and there's somebody there who's expecting me. And they said, "Mr. Clayton, we've been expecting you. It's a pleasure to have you here at our hotel. Let me show you around the property for a moment, and then I'll escort you to your room." That was it. Took my luggage, everything. I didn't have to like give any credit card information. I didn't have to like sign a bunch of paperwork. They gave me a glass of wine, and the property was awesome. And then like they gave me the key, and that was it. It was actually delightful. I felt like a VIP, and I don't think it cost them any more money to deliver this experience. And they were probably doing some hand cranking of this type of experience in their system and processes. But there's no reason why this type of experience shouldn't be offered to somebody who's staying at a Holiday Inn in Sioux Falls, or a Ritz-Carlton in Manhattan, or a W Hotel in Scottsdale, Arizona. It does not matter. You should be able to just show up. They should know who you are. They should be able to recognize you by face. They should just give you your key. Everything else is handled, and they just take you to your room. And
by the way, you know, Google stalking, it's so easy nowadays, right? I mean, not to say that this is what I don't know if you have to submit an ID beforehand or whatever, but there's definitely a certain crowd of people, especially that would be checking into a higher end hotel. You could just Google their name, find a picture. Oh, hey, that's the guy, you know? And then when you show up, there's no ID. There's you don't even need to do that stuff. but it's also secure. You know, it's not like they're taking extra risks by not verifying those things, or having, you know, extra time to do the precautions. They know it's you. Like, they can see, just like they would check an ID.
Absolutely. And, you know, at GreenPal, we have profile pictures on like over half the homeowners that use our platform. We get through Clearbit. And so they didn't upload those. We just know who they are. And we do that with minimal effort. And it's not even our business to be in the personal concierge service. Like we hook you up with a great lawn mowing service at a good price, but we still have more information, more seamlessly and easier than like billion-dollar hotel chains. And so it's like, and who are still having you fill out this stuff on a piece of paper. They have no clue who you are. And so it's like, there's so much of an opportunity to improve that experience. And as a startup, it can behoove you just to focus on one thing. Just focus on that 5 minutes, because I don't care how good you are, it's always at least 5 minutes on the status quo. Reduce that 5 minutes to 30 seconds and do it so where you can do it consistently, repeatedly, at a zero marginal cost. And then, wow, do you have a product? Do you have like a huge improvement in the end users, in customers experience when they walk into this hotel? And so, like, let's say you're W Hotel or Marriott or whoever. If you are the only chain using this, well, guess what? That's a competitive advantage, even over like an Airbnb. Like a lot of these hotel chains are getting their lunch eaten by Airbnb. Checking into an Airbnb is usually even more burdensome. Whereas, you can just walk into a W and they know you by face and they greet you by name and they just walk you to your
Brian,
room.
the solution to all this is not to compete on hospitality for the big hotels. Is to lobby the government to make it more expensive and difficult to have Airbnbs in that particular city.
Yeah. That's a really good point. That's how we solve that problem.
Actually, by the way, you were talking about making the check-in experience shorter, but I was also thinking about, all of the bespoke things that happened in that check-in experience that you appreciated, a glass of wine, somebody meeting you. You could actually make it longer as long as it's enjoyable,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. You could actually show them through the bar, give them a free glass of wine, which is like a $3 marginal cost. And now, guess what? Now they're probably 30% more likely to convert on spending some money in the property. And this stuff's all easily. You could do all this. You could have your staff have like a Tinder like interface and say, is this Brian Clayton? Is this Nathan? Is this Chris? Yes, no. And like you could swipe through through faces, and you could be able to readily identify who these people are.
By the way,
know who they are throughout the whole stay.
By the way, you can also, if you just have your phone, you could do some verification that you're in that area with your phone, right?
Exactly.
Here's your phone. We recognized your phone. You're in the hotel. Nothing more needs to be done about that.
So I think there's a lot of room to no.
I got another idea before you cut in, Chris.
Go for it.
Has anybody ever done one of these audio walking tours? So you go to I actually did it in New Orleans a couple times, right? Where you lived for a while. They're pretty cool. Just put on a set of headphones and they walk you around and somebody directs you and tells you about things. You could actually do kind of a nice concierge introduction to the hotel. You wouldn't need any extra staff, whatever. You open up your phone, it recognizes you're there, and it says, would you like a tour of the facilities? A guided tour of the facilities. And then you just click yes, put in your headphones, and it says, yeah, walk to your left, you see the bar. And why don't you pick up your free bottle or your free glass of wine or whatever it is. That could be pretty cool and actually very low overhead.
Yeah, if you're a startup and you're pitching this to a big VC, you're saying, okay, we're going to reimagine the entire hotel experience from end to end. The way we're wedging into the industry is the 5 minutes on check-in. And we're going to spend 2 years, we're going to nail that, and then we're going to get all of these big name hotel chains on our platform. And then we're going to do all these other sorts of things through enabling technology and mobile technology to do it. And so I think the wedge strategy on just focusing on just the check-in experience, and there's a multi-billion-dollar company called Qualtrics. The dude who owns the Utah Jazz founded this company, and supposedly what they do is customer intelligence. And I think hotels are a big customer of theirs. I don't know what any of them are doing, in terms of because it still seems like it's done like the 80s. But there's people trying to attack this. I just haven't seen any sort of real world improvement in manifest into the actual customer's experience.
Yeah. So I want to take a step back here, because this idea in general is kind of audacious in that it's super simple. And oftentimes those simple ideas, people just take it for granted. And I would dismiss this one, honestly, to be frank, because it just seems like a hotel should be able to do it. Yeah.
Don't be Frank. Don't be Frank. Be Chris. It's okay.
But any hotel should be able to do it. And I don't see a business opportunity in that, I guess. So tell us about where the business is.
I see it. I mean, granted, I'll argue this. Maybe we'll have time for me to tell you that I don't actually have a problem with the check-in experience, but I'm getting excited about this idea. But
if I woke up tomorrow and first off, I would never start another startup. This one's been way too hard. But if I did, and this was my idea I was going to go all in on. I would somehow, some way get it in one hotel. Like there's a dream hotel here in Nashville, and I know the GM. I would call him and I would pitch him on this idea, and I would build out the MVP, and I would just get in there with him, get it going, and then just learn. And I would spend like 2 years just trying to learn. And then once I figured that out, then I would know how to sell the experience to other hotels. But
So I
only
wonder with
until
that, would you be able to do some like a consulting, path? It's not all tech right away, right? And then the thing
yeah,
that I would riff on with that is you could actually measure the improvement that you make on guests by rebookings, right? Because you can say, okay, I interacted with, Ethan, and Ethan compared to Jim over there is 30% more likely to book at our hotel.
yeah, you would definitely want to tie this to real world KPIs that you can improve. So that could be, okay, we've noticed your star rating on Google and TripAdvisor and Expedia has gone up a half point. Because the funny thing is, like, it doesn't matter how high end your hotel is. A lot of these like $500 a night hotels still only have like a 4.6 star rating in Google. Like for us, GreenPal, like we like if we have a 4.6 on like Trustpilot, we're sucking. So it's like you could just tie it to something simple as that. You don't even have to like close the entire loop on like rebookings. It's like, hey, your qualitative star ratings on the four platforms that matter have gone up by 25% in the last 6 months since you implemented this one system on this one property. Because you would want to do that. You would want to prove it out. It's like, okay, Dream Hotel Nashville went from a 4.4 to a 4.9 in less than 12 months when they implemented this system. Because guess what? People who stay at the Dream, they want to feel like people that have FU money, but they don't. Like they're spending $400 a night, but they want to feel like a rock star. If you greet that person by name and say, "Hey, Chris, thanks for staying with us here at the Dream. Let me show you around real quick, and I've got your key, got your room ready. Everything will be set up for you. But let me show you the bar. Let me and here's some access tickets to the private club we have. You're leaving a 5-star review for that hotel versus the status quo. Even at Dream, it's $500. Like, okay, ID." Credit card for incidentals. Let me explain to you how incidentals work. Sign here. I need your email address, even though you already entered it. It's just ridiculous. Like I'm gonna get hot. I'm gonna get hot. I'm gonna get heated.
Yeah, we're gonna turn you into GreenPal. You're gonna expand into hotels at the end of this conversation. Yeah, now I'm getting excited. I'm seeing the path forward here. I'm thinking about something similar like bar rescue, right? Hotel rescue. You come in, you've got this consulting service where you help them improve their overall ratings and customer experience. And as you're describing that, I was just thinking, like, we have 1 to 5 scales for hotels, but maybe all of them actually suck. Maybe they're all 3, and that's what we're used to. But there's, that's the top end is a 3, and you just accept that the check-in experience sucks, which is usually the only touch point that you have with hotel staff. If you're usually a decent guest, that's the only thing that's the only service thing that you need to concentrate on.
That's right.
So yeah,
it's laughably obvious. Nobody's attacking it. To your point, a lot of switching costs. It's going to be really hard to execute. But somebody needs to pour their life's soul into this problem solution, and they'll build a $100 million company. They'll get picked up by a Qualtrics or maybe an Airbnb or maybe one of these big hotel chains. It's a $100 million opportunity, 10-year. It's a 5 to 10 year business. $100 million opportunity for somebody, and it's venture scale.
A few fun things about this idea, well, I'll preface this with an interesting story, right? For people who are those kind of struggling entrepreneurs or just getting started, right? I got an interesting tip from Andrew Warner. He said when he hadn't had any success with his email marketing business that he has, and he's now got Mixergy, this podcast and everything that's going pretty well. He would just go to like the Ritz-Carlton to work, and he'd hang out in the lobby and, just get out his little laptop, and he could feel like he's on top of the world, even though he hadn't quite, quote unquote, made it yet. Right.
Yeah.
It's interesting hack. Right. And I like combining that with this particular project. It would be a perfect in if you got a job as like the night shift at a really fancy hotel. So it's a situation where it's pretty busy, but there's probably a little bit of downtime where you can sit, you can do some research, you can do some planning. Maybe you can, coordinate with like developing some type of app experience that you want to work on. And you get to hang out in a really cool hotel, right? Pick a nice one, right? And you could observe what they already do. You could even eventually pitch the management on making it sort of a partnership or something like that. And at the same time, you'll actually, since you're so focused on customer service, you're doing a great job at your job. You might even get promoted or something like that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Like the tie-in, like the creme de la creme, the Ritz-Carltons of the world are already doing this. So it's not like you're inventing a new behavior, inventing a new human behavior. It's already being done. They're just doing it with proprietary systems, and a lot of it is hand cranking. Technology can close the gap between a Ritz-Carlton and you might even say like a Holiday Inn, but really a Ritz-Carlton and a W, a Dream, some of these higher end hotels that still don't have that Ritz-Carlton experience. It can close the gap there. It can also close it between a Ritz-Carlton and a Best Western. Through technology, through better intelligence, through onboarding and sucking all of this data in, and then putting it in the hands of your team members to where they can use it and use it to give that better experience and literally upsell and develop more loyal clientele. It's all there. It's all there. It just needs to be built, and it needs to be wedged in. There's just definitely a wedge strategy in terms of like what you guys are talking about. It's get a job in one of these roles or become a consultancy and slowly like syndicate this into people's hands, because the reason why it doesn't exist is because the switching costs are so high and it's hard for these big established players to innovate. So
Yeah, you could get a
probably
job. You could get a job at the Ritz Carlton and be a consultant to the Holiday Inn on the side, make a little bit of
absolutely.
extra income, and be developing what you're doing.
Absolutely,
I
or
want
maybe even lower barriers to entry. You find that indie hotel, that boutique hotel that every city has, that's independently owned and operated. That's still expensive, and then you just pitch them on this, and you focus on doing everything you can to to grow reputation and revenue for that one hotel by a meaningful percentage. Throw
couple
your
thoughts
life's
here.
energy into that.
One that's not quite a competitor, but an alternative to this. Hilton, the entire Hilton brand, they've got this app now that allows guests to check in, choose the room, open the room door, all from their mobile device. So if you're registered at Hilton Honors member, you're able to do all that, which I think is part of what we're talking about here. But as we're talking about this idea, I think that they're missing something. They're
Yeah,
not quite getting that experience that you're talking about. That's the difference between,
they don't know
I think
who I
that's going
am.
to be, yeah, that's going to be table stakes in the
Yeah,
future, right? Every hotel is going to allow you to do that. And
yeah.
you won't have as bad a taste in your mouth. But I still think that there's an opportunity for a consultant to come in and make an experience spectacular, which will cause the guest to leave a review and turn this flywheel for increased business for you. So
I agree. Like the consultancy/tech startup is the way to go. Like I do coaching and mentoring for entrepreneurs in Nashville where I live for free as a hobby. And I'm currently working with a guy who's trying to build the Uber for junk removal. He has a junk removal service, like 5, 6 trucks going out every day. Like that's the business he's in. Now he's trying to make the move from blue collar entrepreneur to tech entrepreneur. I'm coaching him on keep the junk removal service and then build the customer experience through a digital interface. And then you can fulfill it. That's how you do it. I think this is the same. Like I think that you get in there and you learn how to be like the best, solution, like consultancy or consultant that these smaller brands can work with while you've got a dev team, product team working on this stuff. And then you bring that in slowly and then you can figure out how to sell it to the big guys.
So you built this multi-million-dollar business in the service industry. This idea is also in the service industry. Are there any things that you've learned that would, help out someone who's starting here? Some pitfalls to avoid? Anything that comes to mind like that?
Yeah, don't believe people are going to use your product just because you built it. Don't believe people are going to do what you want them to do just because the interface is designed a certain way. Like it has to be a workflow that people go through. and they have to move from one step to the other. And you can literally put like one screen, one thing, one screen, one action. You can't just like have this dashboard for this thing and it just like look like Salesforce and expect people to use it. Like Salesforce is Salesforce. Like you can't build a product like that. To wedge into this, it has to be dead simple to where like Homer Simpson can use it. Like the goal is to be able to hire Homer Simpson and be able to put him in like a Ritz-Carlton uniform, and he operate like a Ritz-Carlton employee with like very
like
little training.
An
That's how good the
avatar that
product
you've
has
used
to be.
before.
Yeah.
You've used the Homer Simpson avatar before in GreenPal.
Like our vendors, we have like 10,000 vendors, and many of them are like, this is their first business. They don't understand what goes into running your own business. Now, are they Homer Simpson dumb? No, but we designed for Homer Simpson. So then when our vendors come onto the platform, they never ran a business. They don't know that they're supposed to return phone calls. They don't know that their profile can't look like crap. It needs to be a picture of their face and not one of them with like sunglasses on, like doing a pimp lane or something. Like they have to look professional. Like they don't know that. And so like it's our platform product's job to educate them slowly from like never ran a business to I'm making 250 grand a year cutting grass. And the way we get there is one screen, one action. Like that's it. And so that's what you have to design for. You have to design for Homer drunk. Homer on a 3-day drinking binge just got back from Vegas on Monday morning. Like that's what you have to design for, because we're all lazy, egotistical. We don't read anything. We don't have time to like figure out an interface. It's got to be that simple.
That describes Chris perfectly. I mean, I take offense to that, but yeah, I mean,
yeah, I'm just laughing because I'm laughing at how I'm going to type that up into the show notes here as a nugget, right? Designed for Homer Simpson on a 3-day bender coming back from Vegas.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, we just mentioned that you mentioned that you have this $20 million business and looking for some insights based on that. Just for the listener's pleasure here, how do you enjoy that? Do you count out the 20 million by hand, on the weekends, like what are some fun perks? What are some fun perks of kind of where
you
got?
You guys are talking to me. You're like, this guy's insane. This guy is crazy. Like he what is he talking about? But as insane as I am on this silly ass hotel, like first name basis idea, that's how crazy I am about GreenPal. I like making it just so dead simple. You can push a button and get a great lawn mowing service in a day. Like that's what we do. And that's all we focus on. Like, and for 8 years, we have focused on this one thing. Like,
no. But wait, I'm asking you, like, what do you do for fun? Like, is it just all work? I mean, did you buy yourself something nice? Did you go on a little vacation? Like, what's going on? I mean, it was a little bit off topic, but we need to inspire our listeners, and we can't tell them it's all just like constant obsession with serving Homer Simpson.
Right on.
Drunk on a 3-day bender.
So 20 years of entrepreneurship. I actually had a landscaping company that I built from just me and a push mower to me and 150 employees. And I got it over $10 million a year in revenue. And in 2013, it was acquired by one of the largest landscaping companies in the United States. After that, I retired. I took like 6 months off, and I realized that like there's only so many beaches you can lay on. And I got really bored, and I started to realize that.
But you did lay on some beaches, right?
I did lay on some beaches.
Okay,
and like I think it hit me one day in Costa Rica. It was like the biggest problem I faced that day was like the bar ran out of my favorite type of tequila. And so it's like I am capable of solving bigger problems than this. And so I thought, okay, I need to get back in the game. I need to start my next thing. And the idea for GreenPal is one I always had, but I wasn't a tech entrepreneur. I was just like a blue collar entrepreneur. And so luckily I didn't know what I didn't know. I was very naive. And so I started GreenPal, and it was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be, but he's like, too late. I'm like, too late now. Let's just keep going. And so the first like 4 or 5 years were really, really hard. 7 days a week, 10, 12, 13 hours a day. And my two co-founders and I just stuck it out, didn't give up. And it didn't get to be fun running GreenPal till like year 7, like literally like 2 years ago. And so now it's actually fun. I've got a company of 24 people. Most of them are smarter than me, and which is pretty low bar, but most of them are smarter than me, which that's a lot of fun. like working with smart people who are just better at things than you are. And it's actually fun. And we don't have to work the 100-hour weeks anymore. We're profitable.
That's crazy to me. It took that long for you to enjoy GreenPal.
Yeah.
Right? And
Yeah.
thinking about this idea here, I mean, you have an appreciation. Now you do know what you know, right? And so you have an appreciation for how hard starting this hotel concierge business would be. And, you mentioned 2 years, 2 years of just slogging it out in a hotel and trying to help people.
That's why I somewhere along the lines in this conversation, I said 5 to 10 years. And it's going to take you a year or two to figure out what the hell you're doing, just to get pointed in the right direction. And then maybe another year to like get a product going. And then maybe another year after that to get 3 customers. And then maybe another year to get 10 and maybe get $1 million a year in revenue. And then that's the starting line.
How do you support yourself during that time? I mean, this is 2 years. Are you charging some of these early customers to do this work while you're learning on the fly?
First off, you have to have like a fire in your belly that you're going to make something of your life. And if you see business as the vehicle to do that, then it takes care of a lot of this other stuff. So it's like, okay, I'm here for, let's say I live to be 80 years. The first 20 didn't matter. The last 20 doesn't matter. So really there's only like 40 years that really matter. And it's like, I'm here for a very short period of time. I'm going to make something of myself. I'm going to make my life matter. Business is the vehicle for that. Then you figure a lot of this other stuff out. Like, if you have zero money and you want to do this idea, well, then maybe you do a lot of things what we're talking about. You beg to go get the job at the best hotel in your city. Well, I don't live in a city with a nice hotel. Well, then you move there and then you go get you get the worst job you can at the best hotel and you work your way up and you learn the insides of how this stuff works. While at night you're learning how to build software and code, and you're taking every dime you can to like get on Upwork and hire people to help you on the side to do this thing. You do that for 3 years, you'll have something.
Yeah, the theme here that I think is interesting, and I think I think we all I kind of have that intuition when I ask this question about like what's the glory, right? And it kind of goes back to the kind of the struggle behind it. And I think what this points out, which may be obvious, I don't know, but you did reach a point where you could kind of sit on a beach and go on vacation. And I think while those things are kind of nice to maybe drive you forward in your imagination, they seem really great. The fulfillment, right? You're really the joy is in the fulfillment, which may not even always feel fun per se, but it feels fulfilling because you're working towards something that makes you feel like you're living a fulfilling life.
I agree. I think a lot of bad advice for millennials and Gen X entrepreneurs these days is the follow your passion thing. Like I was never passionate about cutting grass. I was passionate and am passionate about winning and creating something bigger than me, creating opportunities for the people that work for me, and building cool stuff that people get value from. Like that's what I'm passionate about. Grass and lawns just happen to be like the part of the equation. And I mean, I'll be honest with you, like there was many years, my first business, many years in this business that really sucked. I didn't like any of it. But it was just like I'm always going to be working on my best idea by default. Like there isn't an internal conversation there. It's like, okay, no matter what, I'm working on my best thing. This is my best thing. So I'm just going to work as hard as I got to work to make it happen.
I want to put you on the spot a little bit here because it's very clear why you're successful. It's very clear that the plan that you outlined would work. It sounds like a hell of a lot of work.
A lot of work
to get there, right?
I don't want to do it.
And I mean, but
I'm not going to do it.
Well, it's obvious that if someone's willing to do that, then they could succeed. If you're willing to pay that cost, then yeah, you'll make it happen. All right. I want to challenge whether there is an alternative way of making this happen. Is there a way that we can build this business where it's not 100-hour weeks for 5 to 10 years? What would have to be different in order to make that
episode
happen?
Over, Chris? I'm sorry. Nope.
I think what would help.
And I'm specifically curious about your perspective, Brian, because you've done it the hard way. You've done it slog. Like if I handcuff you, take away your blood, sweat, and tears from building a new business, what would you do differently? And that might be find someone who hasn't
just get
done
this
that
straight. Are you handcuffing him and putting him on the beach or something?
Yeah,
and like only allowing him to
you're killing my flow
beach?
here, man. Come on. if we handcuff you and take away your hard work ethic and make you have to do this in a way that's 20 hours or 40 hours a week, and it might be that you employ that person who's going to be spending that 100 hours a week and you mentor them. But what is it, how could you do this if your next thing, presumably you got at least another business in you? I don't want you to see you burning out when you're, 50 or 60 or something like that. What's the game plan for the next iteration?
We're gonna handcuff you and put you on the beach. We'll get somebody to put some suntan lotion on you so you don't get burned. But yeah, we're gonna force feed you tequila.
Couple things I can a couple ways I could take it. So the short answer is I don't see a way. I don't. And also, like, I've worked really hard on this business, but everybody who's successful business works really hard. Like, I think one thing that can help every entrepreneur is to read the autobiography of Warren Buffett, The Snowball Effect, or The Snowball, or something like that. That will put into context how little you work. That will put into context how little you are focused. That will put into context how little effort you are putting into the thing, because that guy, like, was focused about one thing, and that was making money and figuring out ways to put money to work to make more money. And, like, that's 100 hours a week. That's all he did.
I want to interject on that same example, though, because he's got a biography called Tap Dancing to Work. And I don't get the impression that Warren Buffett hated his job for 6 or 7 years before he started.
No, you're right.
He loved it every single. So that's what I'm asking you. How do you do this in a way that you love it from day one?
Well, it's like you love, like, I don't. For the first 3 years, the first thing we did, we passed out 100,000 door hangers all over Nashville, Tennessee, to get people to use the app that we built. I hated every minute of that, but I did love sitting down in front of our first 5 customers and them, like, telling me, like, yeah, it was pretty cool. I signed up and the guy came and mowed the yard. Like, I loved that. So, like, did Warren Buffett love going into the basement of the SEC and poring over manuals to try to figure out where the arbitrage was? No, but the son of a gun loved making money. And so I think you don't love the inputs, you love the outputs. I don't think anybody loves, like, putting their nose in the dirt and
that's part of what I'm trying to figure out. I think we've interviewed, this is episode 91, I believe, and there is some percentage of entrepreneurs that we've interviewed that it is easy for, that they're not working these crazy hours. And that's what I'm trying to figure out. What is that opportunity out there? And maybe that defines the business. Maybe
Chris has got himself a nice cushion. He's got his savings.
Yeah, man. What am I supposed to do?
He doesn't want us to tell him that.
I've got one kid on the way. I don't want to be working 100 hours a week.
That's really what's going to make you happy.
Hold on. Not everybody's got to go 0 to 1.
Yeah.
Like, not everybody's got to start so I think one thing I under-indexed on starting GreenPal was not just the tech piece, the hard work, but literally inventing a brand new product. That's really hard. Like, a brand new product that does not exist, that's really, really hard. So, and to go from 0 to 1, like, does not exist, now it's a whole thing, is really hard. And it's not that you got to work 100 hours a week or 80 hours a week. You do got to work 40, but you got to spend the other 40 learning. Like, you got to spend the other 40, like, watching YouTube videos like this one and reading blogs, because you don't know the things you need to know. At least I didn't. And so it's like the cumulatively is 6-7 days a week. Your head's on the pillow, you're thinking about it. In the shower, you're thinking about it. Like, it's full contact. Everything your life is like trying to breathe life into this new invention. Now, that said, it's not for everybody. I don't recommend everybody do it. There are 100 other ways to make money, and you don't have to, like, kill yourself doing it.
I think the answer, it sounds like the answer is to just have some intentionality around how you're spending your time, and just be aware, right? Like, if you want to spend it on the beach, go on the beach. And if that's fun, keep doing it, but if it's not, don't force yourself to keep laying on the beach, handcuffed, drinking tequila and getting lathered with sunscreen so you don't get burnt, by our hired gun or whatever. This is weird.
I agree.
I'm going too much detail, but I'm saying, what I'm saying is, don't get too attached to what looks like, fun. If it's not fun, but if it is fun, keep doing it. That sounds like it's what you're saying, Brian.
Yeah. And I listened to an interview with Mark Cuban the other day, so I'm going to repeat what he said, because if I said it, I'd sound like a dick. Somebody asked him, it's like, how do I know if I'm an entrepreneur? How do I know if I'm an entrepreneur? Like, are entrepreneurs born? Are they created? How do I know if I'm cut out for it? And he says, well, if you have to ask, you aren't. And he said, the entrepreneur loves the idea so much. They have the fire in their belly that they want to spend nights and weekends on it after a 10-hour day already. They want to work on it till 2 a.m. They want to work on it on Sundays. Like the entrepreneur wants to do that. And so Mark Cuban said it. I didn't, but I believe it. And I think it's true. I think if you're cut out for it, you don't have the internal conversation. You just do it because you want greatness. You have the fire in your belly. You want to have, if it's monetarily driven, you want to have 8 figures, 9 figures, whatever. And you just want it so bad, you just do it by default.
That's a good answer. I'll buy it.
These aren't my ideas. Those were Mark Cuban's.
No, yeah, I'm in. No, I'm not doing this idea, but I buy what you're saying there. I'll stick with the beach.
Yeah.
Just to go back into your authentic question, Chris. There probably is a way to do something. I'm going to argue against Brian. I'll play devil's advocate to what he's saying. It's like, there's probably a way to do it, something like this part-time, and maybe Brian's right that it won't become as intense as you want it to be. Maybe it's not going to be a multi-million-dollar business, but, perhaps you could just start it on a couple days a week, 20 hours a week, do your research, build your thing, get it going. Maybe you sell the business. Maybe sell the business idea once you develop the app, and maybe it's kind of like I don't know. You may even be able to sell like a $5 million business or something, building it on the weekends. Making something cool.
Well, so the trap that I'm seeing there is I don't think that you can follow Brian's game plan here, the 100-hour-a-week game plan, doing that part-time and be successful. I think you need to be all in. You need to be the type of person who's gonna get the job at the hotel and do nights, learn and code. You need to go all in if you're going to go that approach. I wonder if there's a completely orthogonal approach that gets you there without doing that. But I don't think you can walk the same path at reduced hours.
I think if you go into it and you go all in and then you decide you're not cut out for it, I think you'll identify a side hustle though. I think you'll see like, okay, I don't want to have to build this whole thing, but I can just build like the best damn CRM that hotels can use for their whales. And I can build like the best solution that these people can, like the 90-10 or 80-20 rule, like 20% of the guests spend 80% of the money that flows through there. I can build the best way that they can nurture that 20%. And so you can probably find a $50,000 a month business in there and not kill yourself building it. I love the Indie Hackers podcast. That's what a lot of those guys are talking about, but to me, like a lot of those guys work as hard as I do. Like you see a lot of these Instagram influencers and stuff, and like, you think they have the good life. Like I know a dude who's got like a education product, and this some gun, I mean, yeah, he makes good money, but he works as hard as I've ever worked. Like he's literally like pouring like his soul into this education product, and he has to make it successful. So I don't know, man. I don't see the 10-hour-a-week $1 million business. It does happen. Maybe we all should have kept our Dogecoin in 2013, but it does happen. But I don't know how to do it.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Cool. Well, we're coming up on time here, Brian. It's been a lot of fun talking with you.
This episode is brought to you by Dogecoin.
That flew by. That's good. Tell us where listeners can go to learn more about you and what you're up to. I want to see your Instagram influencer feed. I'm not a big Instagram user, but I would subscribe.
My Instagram is pitiful.
I know. Yeah. You'd be like, I don't know, empty bottles of tequila.
Yeah, there you go. So yeah, anybody that's listening to this doesn't want to cut their own grass, download GreenPal in the App Store or Play Store. You'll get hooked up with a good lawn mowing service in less than a couple minutes. Anybody want to reach out to me? I've been hanging out on LinkedIn a little bit more lately. Just shoot me a connection on there and drop me a line on LinkedIn.
Awesome. Brian Clayton, thank you very much.
Ethan, Chris, thanks for having me on. I enjoyed it.
It was a pleasure.
Cool. So we'll sign off on Facebook and YouTube. And let me hit stop recording.